Welcome to the World Cup of Martial Arts Between Rounds segment. I'm your host, Mike Petrarca, and today we bring you an exclusive interview with the dynamic force in the world of sport karate. Joining us is Sensei Erin Smith, the esteemed dojo owner of One Step Beyond Martial Arts Training Center in Boston, Massachusetts, and a decorated second-degree black belt world champion. Renowned for her creative and extreme weapons forms, she's fresh off her 2023 gold at the WKC World Championships. As she prepares for the AKA Warrior Cup in Chicago, Sensei Smith shares her insights, experiences, and the drive that makes her one of the most exciting martial artists of our time. Stay tuned for a conversation filled with inspiration, wisdom, and the art of weaponry. Hey everybody, this is Mike Petrarca coming to you from the World Cup of Martial Arts Between Rounds segment, bringing to you amazing martial artists doing phenomenal things. And today we have an awesome guest with us. She is the dojo owner of One Step Beyond Martial Arts Training Center in Boston, Mass. And she is a second-degree black belt. And she is a world champion martial artist, winning multiple first-place medals in creative, musical, extreme weapons forms, including her most recent, a 2023 gold at the WKC World Championships. And she is taking time out of her training for the AKA Warrior Cup in Chicago in just one day to come and chat with me. And we're very, very grateful. She is one of the most exciting sport karate martial artists around, and she is a wizard of weaponry. I'm talking about Sensei Erin Smith. Erin, how are you today?
Doing well, Mike. How are you?
I'm very, very well. How was that? How was that intro for you?
Beautiful. Thank you so much. No, thank you so much for having me on. I'm excited. This is my first time doing a podcast episode in a while. I think the last one I did was like 2017, 2018.
Oh, no way.
So I'm excited to have some fun with you and chat with another fellow New Englander as well.
Excellent.
Excited to be in Chicago as well tomorrow for the Warrior Cup and looking forward to some great competition.
Yes. And I definitely want to ask you about that. And just by being here, Erin, you dropped our median age demographic by probably about 20 years, opening us to a whole new audience. So thank you for that as well.
I know about that. I'm one of the oldest ones in the 18 to 29 division now. So
are you? Can I ask? Is that okay? How old you are now?
I'll be 25 next week.
You'll be 25 next week. Okay. All right. So yeah, you're one of the veterans then.
I don't know about that, but dinosaurs maybe.
Oh, come on. I'm the dinosaur around around these parts. But tell me, Erin, what's the training regimen been like for the Warrior Cup coming up?
Yeah, so I've been working on a lot with my bow striking. I train under Coach LaVine. Knows a thing or two about the Warrior Cup and about winning some Warrior Cups. Winning multiple in one night, which is not something that I'm in the running to do this year because I'm not fighting. So hats off to him for something that has not been done since. Maybe we'll see it repeated this year. I don't know. But he's also a bow master and quite a strong bow competitor, especially before and even when he was competing in point fighting. He's still got it today, even though he probably won't own up to it. But, he's got the strikes. He's had me working some strength and conditioning through his sports conditioning program, and then been focusing on building up striking. So building up my stamina, going through the end of the form, changing up some striking combinations, getting some creative striking combinations, making sure that it's not just repetitive, keeping the same strikes over and over again. And then just really focusing on basics and having solid foundation, solid stances, things like single leg stability, things just to improve and keep working. And it's kind of a specialized thing for sport martial arts.
And how many hours a day when you are in your training are you dedicating to that?
It's usually around 1 to 2 hours. It depends on the day. I train like 5 to 6 days a week. I do strength and conditioning workouts like 3 days a week, 2 or 3 days a week, depending on the split that week. I do some light cardio as well. I like to do swimming for a mix, or do the bike. Well, inside because it's cold this time of year.
Oh yeah, oh yeah.
And
You
then
know, you and I share that bowl. Did you get some snow up your way as well?
I did, yes, a few inches. It was pretty chilly, but I'm good with not going outside to bike anytime soon. But stationary bike is my friend this time of year,
Excellent.
as well as the indoor pool, heated indoor pool. Um, and then I've been working with my bow, coming back from a like small injury earlier, well, at the end of last year,
Mhm.
coming back from that and building up into some tricks, and just working little by little to come back and make sure that I don't make anything worse, while still building back up the level of difficulty in my forms.
And how have you been? What was the injury, if I may ask, and how has the recovery been?
Yeah, I had injured my thumb and just bent it the wrong way too many times doing bow. So eventually it just kept going the wrong way. But
Mm,
a few weeks in a splint and all back to normal. So
good,
ready
good,
to
good.
go for
You'd be
Warrior Cup.
100%.
Yes, sir. Magic of that like 5 weeks between Pan Ams and Warrior Cup.
And tell me, Aaron, any new moves or tricks that you've been specifically working on with the bow staff?
Um, yes. So there's been a few variations. I'm very excited. One of my students, he's competed the last season through NASCA. Ewan
Mhm.
McKenna, he's worked with the commas a lot. He's always done bow as well. Now he's doing some bow too. He actually has a really creative mind and picks up spinning really fast. So that kid is pushing me.
Oh,
So
excellent. Oh, excellent. Isn't it great? Sometimes our students push us. Wonderful.
oh, I love it. It's amazing. And I have somebody that I get to train with, and he has like a lot of his tricking and stuff. I've never been a tricker, that's no secret. But I'm learning a lot more now, and little by little, building up to some new things. Um, Learning some variations, trying to work in the bow with manipulations, even with simple kicks. How can I make the weapon flow and not just holding it in my hand while I do a kick, or holding it in my hand while I throw a jump spinning kick or whatever the trick is.
Mhm.
But so one thing that he had been working on was a butterfly kick with the hand roll, and then I'm kind of working up to that. We're working the butterfly kick first,
Yeah.
and then for my own bow tricks, I'm working on a lot of the around the waist manipulations, so catching
Uh-huh.
it behind my head, as well as the voodoo child variations, so around the neck spins, some into stabs, some into another striking combination.
Mhm.
Those are a lot of fun, and I really enjoy those just for something a little bit different. And there's so many ways you can flow with it and change it up just a little bit, and then change it and turn it into a different strike at the end, or
Yeah.
start the combination with a swing instead of a striking combination, and then put the trick in the middle somewhere, and then finish strong, and then try and not just have it look so much like a, let's say, a gymnastics floor routine, but I
Mhm.
don't want to have a long stretch of just tricks in my form. I want to have tricks that are put in specific places and that look like they really have a reason to be there. So
Yes. Yes.
that's something that Ross and I are always working on and always trying to improve my forms.
And of course, you're talking about Ross Turbo LaVine, correct?
Yes, sir. The one and only.
Yes. And I know he had a fight recently. I know there were a lot of people going to Vegas for his fight. And tell me a little bit about him, but also any mentors or major influences in your life in general.
Yes. That's a couple good questions there. Um, so working with him, I've trained with him for about 2 years now. I'm fortunate enough that he is a fellow New Englander now as well. Claimed him from New York, which is not
Mm,
New England, to be very clear about that.
yes, I do remember that when I was competing in tennis tournaments years ago. The New England region, not yeah, New York is not into that.
Well, I won't say we love New York, but we respect New York. However, we're not all the same. But
Right.
since he's been in Rhode Island now, that's been something that I've been able to drive down like every couple weeks, depending on his schedule as well. He's had a busy couple years with his karate combat career, and
Mhm.
as well as building up his strength and conditioning business. But when we can work together, we work on improving my striking primarily, and then always having a purpose. So each combination has a purpose. He calls it like trimming the fat off. So no extra
Mm,
like moves just for the sake of taking up time in the form, and which also leads to a very tiring form and very striking heavy form. So which is where the conditioning comes in, and which is where reps of striking comes in, and working with like pyramid drills, just working up from a smaller number up to a bigger number, then back down to a smaller number, then working it over and over and over again, is really important. And he always emphasizes that basics are important, basics are key.
Right.
As a mentor, he's a phenomenal person. I'm extremely grateful to have his influence, even in the past couple of years with the busy life that he's had and everything that he's had going on. He's still made time to help. If I send him a bow video or if I send him something and say, hey, this is going on, he'll always shoot back a text as soon as he can, let me know. Whether I've won or lost, I always send him the video afterwards, sometimes even before I've gotten my scores back. And then to me, his feedback is more important than the scores that I get, because I know that he's putting everything into it, and that he's putting, like, he's been on the circuit a long time, first of all, and then that he's looking at it from a like objective standpoint. And a lot of times we get wrapped up in wins and losses and scores, and somebody beat me and somebody scored higher, and why did this judge score this? And he always reminds me that it comes down to who's sitting in the judges' chairs, like in terms of scoring. So all we can do is control our own performance and focus on ourselves.
I think that's a wonderful lesson. I'm sure that's something that it sounds like you've been able to take up to heart, but also probably impart on your students as well.
Yes, definitely. He makes me a better instructor and a better coach. And he's definitely a role model of a coach, that somebody that I want to be like someday. I'm also grateful that he's taken on working with one of my students who his parents make the trip and they go down and see him too. And we watched, actually last weekend, we were finally able to watch Ross's title fight, because it was a little bit late for my 10-year-old. So
Sure. Yeah.
He came over and we watched at the dojo, put it up on the projector screen, and he was just thrilled. So it's awesome to see my students going, that's my coach. That's my coach.
It's like, amazing. Yeah, it is.
Yeah. And then he turns around and coaches them exactly the same as if they were, one of his colleagues in karate combat. So I appreciate that time and energy that he gives to them as well.
No, it sounds like a very, very special relationship.
Yes, I'm very grateful.
And tell me, I know you're a dojo owner. How do you balance owning a dojo with your competitive schedule?
That is a very good question. So I've had a lot going on, especially in the last year or so. I've been working into trying to get into the film industry a little bit as well. A little bit of stunt training, and then working, doing some editing, post-production for Offscreen Studios, which is a company that's based in Boston. So it has a lot of martial artists in the company as well. So it's been great getting to know them and to train with them. That's helped me to accomplish multiple goals in terms of professional goals, because I've learned skills in terms of like editing, using software that I can then take and use for my business to grow my business. And then I have new stunt training partners, things like that. But it's also meant more things to juggle and more things on my plate. But I'm very, very grateful. With that in mind, I usually try and split it up so that I have training either in the morning and then teaching in the evening, or if I'm teaching in the morning, doing private lesson, then giving myself a little break if I can. That way I don't get too burned out by the end of the night and just crash, because then that's not fair to myself, not fair to my students. And I know that like I get tired. So it's a long day.
And how do you personally, because I think that's a great point, is how do you personally cope with having enough self-care to prevent burnout? What are some of the things that you personally do or advocate for yourself?
That's definitely something that I'm working on. It's a work in progress. But some of the things that I've been trying to do is just like taking more time for myself, making sure that I get enough sleep at night, making sure that I'm not training too late at night. As much as I can be kind of a night owl sometimes, I know that I have to get enough sleep, and that there's just not enough hours in the day before the next day starts if I'm at the dojo training super late. So if that means I have to get up earlier and have to do something else earlier, then that is what it is. And then that's, how it's going to be that day. And then that way I can get training in and whatever else I have to get done in terms of the dojo, and then teaching classes in the evenings. Trying as well, I have a great business partner who I run classes with. She and I will switch off and give each other breaks and like tag out. And she has her CPT, certified personal trainer as well. So she is a heck of a fitness instructor. So I'll conveniently be like, hey, Sensei Marie, do you want to run warm up? And then the kids are like, no,
Yeah.
no. Like, yeah, all right, let's get creative today. So we'll switch off and then I'll have 10 or 15 minutes just to breathe and, get something to drink and whatever, and then come back and then we'll both teach class and we can split up, into different groups depending on if it's a beginner class and they're working on different forms, we can split into two groups, or they're working on different techniques, we can have a couple different stations, and then that way we
Sure.
give everybody equal attention.
And I saw an article in which you wrote a thesis. This might have been like an undergrad, thesis, but you can correct me about when you wrote it. But regarding martial arts improving clinical depression and also the role of movement therapy on mental health. Can you tell me about that and some of your findings?
Yes, that was an article that I wrote, or a research paper that I wrote back in 2021,
Hmm.
finishing off my undergraduate, getting my bachelor's degree from Assumption University. I'm very grateful to one of my mentors there, Dr. Senecal, who helped me with that. Is another fellow martial artist
Hmm.
who was one of the first people when I said I have this idea that I think martial arts actually helps people with mental illnesses. And he didn't look at me like I was crazy. He's like,
Uh-huh.
actually, I totally agree with you. So, and he was the one to sponsor that project and through the honors symposium at Assumption and finishing off that year, which was really meant a lot as well because those 2020 to 2021 was kind of hectic with COVID. So that was
Of
something
course.
that was amplified more than ever, that we needed to stay active and we needed to stay moving, we need to stay connected. And martial arts is one of the best ways to do that. So, one of the things that I had focused on in the research paper was comparing it to other forms of movement therapy, like dance therapy. Uh,
Hmm.
and then there's been extensive research on that. It's been a little bit more popular than martial arts, which, I can kind of see. It seems a little more gentler, especially on the outside.
Yes.
But pointing out as well that martial arts, the art part of it, you can work in different ways, so it can be modified and that it's highly adaptable. And so I referenced some programs like Kids Kicking Cancer as well, that I know
Hmm.
based out of Michigan with Coach Richard Plowden, and that they work with children and their families facing terminal illnesses in hospitals.
Oh, that's amazing.
That's definitely an organization that I want to work with in the future. And was part of the reason for me choosing my undergraduate major with human services and rehabilitation, and then psychology. I wanted to take that, and then seeing the way that they adapted martial arts to fit the circumstance, and that martial arts, and now Mr. Plowden is no stranger to competitive world, no stranger to his children being
Hmm.
stars in the competitive world. However, I see him put the exact same focus and the exact same uh, say level of care that he does with his son and daughter when he's coaching them. When I
Yeah.
see videos of him working with his students in the hospitals and working with clearly, very, very different techniques, but getting the same kinds of benefits from it. So I looked at it's not so much about what punches are we throwing, what kicks are we throwing, but how can we use this form of movement to empower ourselves. And then with that comes the mental benefits as well, the neurotransmitters and whatnot,
Of course.
all the endorphins, all that happy stuff. Um, so that coming into play. But what I think is unique about martial arts as well is that it really reaches out to the men's population, and
Hmm.
it's a population that's been stigmatized a lot with mental health.
I
And
think that's an amazing point. Yeah, I mean, I think you might be one of the first people to bring that up about how, yeah, it can really get the male population on board with doing something for their mental health. That's a great point.
Yeah, and just the movement therapy part of it as well. I mean, there's a lot of great alternative kinds of therapy out there, but a lot of them, again, are traditionally feminine. They don't have to be. I don't advocate
Mhm.
for that. However, I believe they're for everybody.
Right.
But with that being said, there's already enough barriers and enough stigma surrounding men getting help with mental health. So why not remove one more thing and make it a little bit easier? So that's just another way that martial arts can be adaptable and then fit the situation that you're in.
That's an amazing point. Yeah, thanks for that insight, Aaron. That really I really like that, and I think that it's spot on. Um, and tell me, I know this might be hard, but most fulfilling accomplishment in 2023, and what's your primary goal or goals for 2024?
That's a good question. Um, my most fulfilling accomplishment was definitely seeing my students improve. Just seeing from my competition students go out and improve from the beginning of the season to the end of the season, to seeing some of my younger students improving their balance skills, their coordination, seeing my students improve their fighting skills and their confidence grow. As much as when I got to the end of the year and I was grateful to have accomplished what I did in terms of competition, nothing really compares quite the same way to seeing somebody see the confidence in themselves that they've built, and knowing that you had a small part in that, and then being able to remember and thank the people that who are a part of building that for you as well, and seeing like having some full circle moments. And K-Talk especially every year, because I have a couple coaches who are in New York, Steve Lennon. And so seeing him, and he always looked out for me and watched out for me when I was just starting out on underbelts. And so being able to come back with last year, or 2022, coming back with a few students, and then this year coming back with more students and getting to see him. And he's like, oh my goodness, like it's crazy. Just time flies. So I just want to keep building on that, keep building a better legacy for my students, keep training myself so that I can be a better instructor, and pass on more to them.
That's awesome. And so that's your continuation for 2024 to continue to do that.
Yeah, definitely. I'm excited to compete in 2024 as well. I qualified at the regional level for Team USA, heading to Detroit in, I believe it's May or June this year. So hopefully qualifying to go represent Team USA at World Championships in Portugal this year.
Oh, wonderful. Where is it being held in Portugal?
I believe it's Albufeira. So
beautiful place. I went to Portugal last June. Wonderful place.
Awesome. Yeah, I'm excited to go. So it's always fun. It's great being the home country, but it's always fun being out of the country too, and representing the USA overseas. And so it's been a couple years since Ireland, so I'm excited to go and hopefully represent this year in Portugal, and I have a couple of students trying out as well, and as well as my business partner. So it's going to be a busy spring and summer preparing, but we can learn a lot of lessons from it as we keep working that we can take on to our students as well. So it's worth it to me.
Absolutely. And have you met some wonderful people going abroad in your travels to compete?
Oh, definitely. Yeah. One of the reasons why I'm so grateful for martial arts is because it's given me like connections and helped me meet people that I never would have met otherwise. So, and then seeing, especially coming back after COVID and seeing the first year in 2022, a really, really big year for WKC in Ireland, just seeing a lot of the international competitors again was awesome. And just the energy at opening ceremonies and everyone representing their country and chanting for their country, and all the different teams coming in and the different flags. And then this year was extra special that we were Team USA and we had to like hold down home base. As well as one of my students, Ewan, had qualified, and was the first time I ever had a student qualify to Team USA as well.
How special!
Just getting to experience with him meant a lot to me. So that's something that, and watching him meet kids that, like, seeing it from a third person perspective.
Yeah,
watching him meet kids and make friendships and make bonds that he probably never would have had otherwise is really cool to see.
It's awesome. It's awesome. I know as a coach too, nothing gives me more pride to pass things down and to see people compete and do their best, and it's so fulfilling. And I think one of the things you said about the martial arts community. I know for me personally, people have been just so gracious, in the martial arts community to me, and you yourself included, to be willing to do this interview. I know in your busy training schedule, amongst everything else you have. So I certainly appreciate it, Sensei Erin, and we wish you the best in the AKA Warrior Cup as you travel tomorrow. And we hope to have you on again. So thank you so much. And yeah, I wish you the best.
Thank you so much, Mike. I really appreciate it.
As we wrap up this engaging and insightful conversation with Sensei Erin Smith, it's clear that her dedication to martial arts transcends beyond mere competition. Her journey, marked by impressive achievements and a passion for teaching, continues to inspire both newcomers and veterans in the martial arts community. Sensei Erin's approach to training, balancing her competitive spirit with a commitment to nurturing her students showcases the true essence of martial arts: discipline, growth, and the pursuit of excellence. We thank Sensei Erin for taking the time to share her story with us, especially amidst her intense training schedule. To our listeners, let this be a reminder of the boundless potential within each of us to excel and impact lives through our passions. Join us next time for more inspiring stories from between rounds for the World Cup of Martial Arts. Until then, keep pushing your limits and exploring the depth of your abilities.